Alright guys, we're doing box and whisker plots. These are really easy. If you remember from last year, that's awesome. If you've never seen this before, these are pretty easy. Basically, it's just a visual representation of 5 numbers. Those 5 numbers are the least value in your set of numbers, the lower quartile, the median, upper quartile, and the greatest value. Now, 2 of those are ones that you probably have never heard of before, or if you have, you're not real sure about it. So the lower quartile and the upper quartile. Most of you have heard about least value, the median, and the greatest value. So those are usually pretty easy ones. Now these are usually put on a number line so you can tell where they fall. They don't actually have numbers attached to them. Now sometimes they show that in that way, but most of the time they're just put on a number line so you can just look and see what number it actually is. Now I'll show you what I mean. First, let's talk about the box plot. Here's an example of one. Here you see the number line on the bottom. So it's pretty easy to tell that my least value is going to be a 50. My highest value is a 62. The highest value is pretty easy to tell, it's the 62. The median, you can tell you're going to have to count. It's 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56 at the 56 mark. Now the lower quartile and upper quartile go on both ends of the box. So really, I don't know why they use boxes. They could have just done this and just put like marks where they were. But they decided not to. They decided to make a box out of it. And that's why they're calling it the box and whisker plot, because there's a box. And these right here are called the whiskers. Alright, so quartiles. Let's talk about the part that people get really confused on. There's actually 4 quartiles. They're basically just quarters. So if we took all the data and split up into fourths, now they have to be numbered from least to greatest. And then you look at the quartiles. The lowest value is 0% mark. In other words, nothing's been taken yet. We're at the 0% mark. Then when we finally get that first data, we're inside the first quarter. We go up until we get to the lower quartile, which is the first 25% of the data. And then we have the median, which is actually the 50% mark, which you should know it's in between everything, it's in the middle. And then the upper is going to be the 75% mark, and then the highest value, as soon as you have that highest value, it's considered the 100% mark. So it's split into quarters. There's 4 of these. 1, 2, 3. Actually, there's 5 values. I messed up. Because we count in 0 as one of those values. So really, this is the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, everything. 100%. Alright, so let's go on. Here's an example, and we're just going to do one example because this is a pretty easy lesson. We have to find our 5 numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and list those over here. I'm going to put least value. I'm going to put Q1 for first quartile, median, Q3 because it's the third quarter, and then highest number. Alright, those are the 3 things we can find. So the first thing I need to do is take all this information over here, and I need to list it in order from least to greatest. So let me do that real fast. Alright, now I have all the values listed from least to greatest. So my least number is probably the easiest one to do. It's 483. So I'm going to go ahead and write 483 over here. My greatest number is pretty easy. It's 3,618. So 3,618. And now I have to find my median because it's also an easy one to find. So I'm going to cross these off until I get to the median. That's 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, and we have 2 in the middle. When you have 2 in the middle, you have to average them. So we're going to do 24, 6 plus 2,688. So I got 5,154. I'm going to divide that by 2. 24115. So I averaged them, and I got 2,577 is my median. Now we have to find quartile 1 and quartile 3. Well, 25% is half of 50%. So here's my 50% mark right in between these two things. So now I'm going to find what the median is of just these numbers right here. And that will be Q1. So 1, 1, 2, 2, and we have 2,142. That's my Q1. Now for my Q3, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side of that bar. 1, 1, 2, 2, and I get 3,389. Now, one question I have is, why did we count these two? Now, we used them to find a number that is in between them. That's why that black line's there. Now, if we had actually used 2,466 for our median, we wouldn't use that in counting. We would start right here. But because we're actually averaging them and finding a number in between those two numbers, because we have an even number of data, then we actually include those in the first quartile, trying to figure out where the median is of the first quarter, or the first half. All right, so now I have my 5 numbers. I'm going to copy those over to the other side. All right, here I have my number line and I have my data copied over. So the first thing I'm going to do is mark my least value, which is 483, which is somewhere right in here. All right, now I'm going to mark my highest value, which is 3,618, which is somewhere right in here. Now, I have to mark my Q1, which is 2142, so it's right here. My median, which is 2577, and my Q3. Now I'm going to draw my box and my median, and I'm going to attach my whiskers. And that's it. We drew a box plot. We're basically done. We can tell where the median is, we can tell where the Q1 is, Q3 is, the least and the greatest value. And it shows us a lot of information. It shows us that most of our data is skewed. It's over to the higher side. So really, 483 is kind of considered an outlier. In fact, there's a modified box plot, which the only difference is that we look back at our previous data, we take out the outliers, which are these two values, and we start from there. We still count, we don't really take them out of the equation. We still calculate everything the same way. We just don't mark them. Our least value now would be 2,142. So we would actually start right here. But that doesn't really help us on this data because it would move everything over here. And we'll talk about that more in class. But as of right now, this is all we need to know, and can't wait to see y'all tomorrow.